let's talk about abortion and pregnancy, because you can't really talk about one without at least talking a little bit about the other. So basically, I'm assuming by now everyone basically knows I'm pro-choice as fuck. I probably mentioned it in a few videos. I might have did a video on it. Don't think so. But yeah, I am 100% pro-choice. If I were to get pregnant, I would get an abortion immediately, or I would kill myself. That's just the end of the story. One of the two would happen. Either I would become not pregnant, or I would become not alive. There is no option of me remaining pregnant and having kids. I wouldn't mind possibly adopting an 8-year-old or older someday, but I don't think that's going to happen, because I'm not really interested. But basically, it's not because I don't want kids. It's because I fucking hate and am freaked out by pregnancy and babies. They're stinky, they're creepy, and I personally consider them parasites. They leech off your body, they leech off your stuff, they leech off your money. They're just a giant fucking leech. But at least leeches have some uses. They can clean out your wounds. Babies don't have fucking uses. They also smell horrible. I don't get why anyone likes babies. And then people talk about how they're so cute. It's like, the fuck is wrong with you? The fuck is wrong with you? That looks like someone ripped out somebody's, like, lungs, bashed it in with a fucking hammer, put googly eyes on it, and sewed on lips. Oh, and gave it an asshole so that it could shit everywhere. Like, how does that fucking look good? They're disgusting and creepy. Like, ew. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I get, like, it's natural, I guess. Because, you know, evolutionary, you should like babies that you reproduce. But I don't fucking like them. They're gross and they're creepy. And then pregnancy itself, it's like, no, I'm sorry. I don't want a fucking horrible parasitic infection that could possibly kill me and give me cancer. I don't fucking want that. I mean, pregnancy, childbirth is like one of the most dangerous things you can go through. Especially intentionally. Like, I know. Especially because with my mother, she had to get a C-section. Chances are, I would have to do the same, and you bet your ass I'm not fucking getting a C-section. No, you'd go fuck you. Because one, C-sections are fucking dangerous, and two, they leave scars. No, I don't want either one. Fuck that shit. But pregnancy itself is so freaking dangerous. Like, you could die. And there's a high chance of it, too. It's just, in the modern world, you know, we're better. But, yes, 100% pro-choice. I'm 100% pro-abortion. You want an abortion, get an abortion. But, I mean, I'm okay with you putting your kid up for adoption, too, but I don't really think it's the greatest idea, because abortion centers and all that shit are over-fucking-filled already. They don't need more people being thrown into it. And they're really not that good. There are so many horror stories about them being horrendously abusive and bad in toxic environments. If you don't want your kid, honestly, I would say you're better off going with abortion over adoption. If your heart's set on adoption, fine. But I think abortion is, in the end, it's the nicer alternative. Because, I mean, the kid does not necessarily want to be born. Technically, nobody intentionally wants to be born. You can't want to be born because you're not fucking sentient. You can't want anything. So, yeah, now I'm just gonna guess I'm getting into the more of the pro-choice versus anti-choice thing. People shitting on people getting abortions and like, abortion is murder! It's like, no. So I'm gonna basically address a few arguments, I guess. So yeah. Now, the first thing, because since I basically already brought this up, the abortion is murder thing, yeah, no. Basically, for something to be classified as murder, one, it has to be killing a person, and two, it has to be, you know, intent to do harm, like, done, I forgot the word, premeditated. It has to be premeditated. There we fucking go. And one, no one gets pregnant intending to get an abortion. Nobody does that. And no one is using abortion as a birth control either, because it's expensive where most places you live, and it's not a very comfortable thing. 2, a fetus is not a person. You have to be born to be a person. If you are not born yet, you're not a person, period, ever. So thus, you can't consider it murdering. I mean, it's definitely killing. I mean, yeah, you're killing the fetus. Yes, you are. But there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, and technically, we legally kill people all the time without it being murder. Without it being murder. Like, you disconnect someone, like a coma patient. Disconnecting a coma patient. And then, of course, you have things like the death sentence. We have killed people before without considering it murder. So it doesn't even make sense in any sense of the way. And the next thing is they don't want to die! Which, I mean, I pretty much already addressed. They're not sentient. They don't have a consciousness. They don't have wants. They don't have likes. They don't have hates. Nothing. They don't want to live. They don't want to die. They don't want any fucking thing. Because they can't want something. They can't have opinions. They can't have feelings. Period. Oh, and generally, they don't have fucking feeling at all. They cannot feel themselves being ripped apart or any fucking thing. Like, after the 20-week ban thing, there's some room to chit-chat there. But before 20 weeks, yeah, no, there is no fetal feeling of pain. There isn't at all. They're not in pain and screaming when you're having an abortion. No. The fuck? And often when I see anti-choice rhetoric and shit like that, and other little comics stuff, almost always you cannot see the pregnant person. All you see is like a floating baby. So, and then they just talk about this floating baby. And it's like, it's not a floating baby. It's not even a baby. It's a fetus. It looks nothing like that. And 2, it's inside of a person, not a floating orb. So you can't erase the people from the stuff. You do that, you're just being an ass. Because I can tell you who is a person in the situation. The one who's pregnant. The fetus is not. The fetus doesn't have rights. The pregnant person does. And also, there's this wonderful little thing called Bodily autonomy. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that right. And that basically states that nobody can use your body without your consent. Nothing can use your body without your consent. That includes a fetus. What that basically means is, if you are pregnant and you don't want to be pregnant, then that fetus is using your body without your consent, and you are within your rights to remove it by any means possible. It's the same reason why we can't force people to be organ donors, or force people to give blood. It's the same fucking reason. So you can't do it. Technically, it's against the law. And I mean, even if you go with looking into the UN, not having access to abortion is considered torture. It's considered a violation of human rights, because abortion itself is a human right. It's a reproductive human right, to be specific. So even the UN considers it fucking torture. And then, of course, you go on further with some anti-choice shit, and they will say things like, they're all, pro-choice people all advocate for murder. They're killing people. They're killing everybody. You never hear about pro-life people killing. It's all these people killing babies. They just hate babies. And the thing I always have to say to that is, well, Wikipedia is a horrible source. But guess what? It does have a giant fucking page all about pro-life, basically terrorism and violence and them fucking murdering people. There isn't one on pro-choice. In fact, generally you won't find anything about pro-choicers fucking running around killing people, because they don't do that. But pro-lifers, it's not surprising to see some news pop up of pro-lifer blew up a bomb at a abortion clinic. Pro-lifer killed an abortion doctor. Yada 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 yada. And then on top of it, a lot of pro-lifers are against contraception. And it's like, so you don't want abortions to happen, but you also don't want to stop people from getting pregnant? I mean, the best way to stop abortion is to make contraception better, more accessible, easier to use, and cheaper. Because if people aren't getting pregnant in the first place, they're not going to be getting abortions. Banning abortion is just not going to do shit. Because I also find it kind of annoying when people are like saying, oh, we need to ban abortion so that nobody has abortions anymore. It's like, that's not going to happen. what's going to happen is people are going to go get illegal abortions and possibly die, lose internal organs, lose limbs, or just get horrendously fucked up. So really, all banning abortion does is causes from actual people to die, because they go and get back alley abortions, or they fly to other countries to get abortions, which, you know, it'll cost them a lot of money, or it could kill them. This is a well-known fact. Anyone who does any fucking research on abortion will know that banning abortion doesn't stop it. At all. It does nothing. Except for piss people off and kill people. And then, of course, you've got other issues that's common with pro-lifers, but not all pro-lifers tend to do this one. And that's when any great tragedy happens, it will get compared to abortion. Take the Orlando incident, for example. It did not take long. Like, within a day of that incident happening, there was pro-lifers making little pictures of, like, the Orlando shooting compared to abortion. What one do you think has really killed a ton of people? What one do you really think is the issue? And then it'll go down saying, abortion is the actual issue. We have no value for human life. If we had value for human life, this Orlando shit never would have happened. And it's just like, are you fucking kidding me? And they will do that with any major thing. You will routinely see pro-lifers comparing pro-choicers to Nazis. Comparing abortion to slavery. Comparing abortion to genocide. And it's like, the fuck is wrong with you? Those are not fucking comparable. Nothing is fucking comparable to those things. At all. Because, like, one of the big differences is those other things involved people being killed. Not fetuses. Fetuses are not people, once again. Not people. They can't be murdered. They can't be forced into slavery. They can't be fucking killed off in a mass genocide. And on that note, there is no fucking fetus genocide. I don't know how the fuck people keep saying that there's a genocide of fetuses, and it's like, fuck you talking about? That's not even possible. They're not people. And then, of course, I guess I probably should explain why exactly they're not considered people or persons. Because I know some people are like, well, why aren't they people? Why aren't they a person? And the answer is very, very simple. Bodily autonomy and awareness consciousness. Pretty much. You can't be a person if you have never had consciousness. You just can't. It's a requirement. And bodily autonomy also means that, like, they can control their bodies kind of thing, and a fetus fucking can't. And then, of course, like, with that, I always hear people saying, like, oh, what about people in comas? They can't really control their bodies, and they're not conscious. Yeah, that's why which is where I just said that they have to have had consciousness. Basically, a person in a coma was at one point or another conscious. They had a consciousness. They had a personality at one point or another. A fetus never did. That's a big difference between the two. So it's like, no, the fuck. And of course, this is obviously something I feel heavily about because, as I said in the beginning, I would get an abortion if I ever got pregnant. So this fucking shit affects me, so of course I'm going to have a rather strong opinion in it. And obviously, since I'm someone who would get an abortion, obviously I'm going to be pro-choice. Because I'm not an ass. And there is one area that is generally a problem with both the pro-choice and the pro-life side. And that is, there are people who will be like, only women can get pregnant. Only women have uteruses. And that's not fucking true. There are guys who have uteruses. There are guys who can get pregnant. It happens. They're part of the discussion too. Don't ignore them. And I imagine it's probably worse for them. So that too. Other fucking, pro-lifers just, they piss me off. Oh, that's where I was going, mentally. With pro-lifers, part of the reason why I go pro-lifers, and why I don't really like calling them that, I will usually call them anti-choice, shit like that. And that basically is because they do not care about life. They care about fetuses and babies. No, actually, they don't really care about babies, but they like to call them babies. But really, they only care about fetuses. So they're pro-fetus. And that's basically because all they want is for the fetus to be born and be a baby. That's all they want. They don't give a shit if the baby dies immediately after birth. They don't fucking care. They don't care if it dies on a street. They don't care if it becomes a terrorist. They don't care about anything. All they care is that it gets born. So they don't give a shit about life. They just give a shit about fetuses becoming babies and being born. That's all they care about. Which is pretty fucking heartless, because technically, fetuses, pro-lifers, do not give a shit about living people. They constantly rag on and crap on real people. They are trying to take rights away from real people. And they don't give an ever-loving fuck if real people are alive or not. They don't care about that at all. And then I guess the next area that this has to go into is, of course, the religious nutjobs who are pro-fetus. These people, of course, will shout, "God hates you! You will burn in hell!" That shit. And frankly, the reason this doesn't apply should be obvious. Not everybody's Christian, and Christian is bullshit anyway, so... And frankly, I'm just gonna ignore you. I mean, why am I gonna give an ever-loving crap about what some god that you believe in thinks of me, when frankly, he's not real? And, I mean, honestly, I would rather burn in hell and be tortured for all eternity than be pregnant anyway. So that's not really convincing me. So, yeah. People. Yeah. Oh, the other thing that this also just popped into my head, because I didn't write down anything to talk about with this, so I'm just kind of going off what's in my fucking head. So it's taking me a while to think some things through. Basically, one thing I also hear a lot is that abortion isn't natural. It doesn't happen in nature. If we were meant to have abortions, then we would naturally abort. And the first thing always to that is, well, for one, yeah, abortion is something that happens in nature. There are many creatures that self-abort, like bats, for example. Bats will self-abort. If they're in any kind of, like, serious danger, they will completely self-abort. There are many animals who do this. So it is a completely natural thing. It occurs in nature. The same goes with homosexuality. Penguins are homosexuals. I mean, obviously not all of them, but, you know, this shit happens in nature. And then, of course, then you go in, well, humans can't naturally self-abort, so we're not meant to abort. Well, immediate response to that is half the shit, actually almost all the shit in the human world is not natural. We're not supposed to live as long as we do. Half the food we eat shouldn't exist. I mean, if you want to live a life with absolutely nothing that doesn't occur naturally, then you're not going to be able to eat really much of anything. You're not going to be able to wear clothing, or really any fucking thing. Almost everything is not natural in this world, in our human-y world. That's just the way it is. And I mean, if you put a human in the all-natural environment with nothing but natural shit, they will die. But that's all that will happen, is they'll just be dead. Completely fucking dead. So it doesn't matter that humans can't naturally abort. Who gives a shit? And then, of course, you know, you have that rhetoric of, oh, they rip the fetuses apart. Obviously, they say babies, but you got my point. And they say, oh, they tear them in half. Look at this image of a doctor tearing the baby into pieces. And it's like, well, for one, you guys are the cause of that. Originally, they were removed whole, but you guys put a stop to that. So that's your own fucking fault. It's not the pro-choicers, it's the pro-lifers. Y'all fucked up. Second off, who cares? Who gives a shit? The fetus cannot feel it. The fetus does not care. Who fucking cares? It doesn't matter. Yeah. And I mean, it's not just humans who will get abortions done by humans. Cats will get it. I'm not actually going to touch her because she's sound asleep. Cats get them. We give dogs abortions and whatnot because they're not always fucking safe. And that's the thing, is if your pregnancy is not safe for you to continue on, you should get an abortion, without question. You should. And one thing that I also find sort of funny with pro-lifers is a lot of them, they will spout and spout and spout, no abortion, no abortion, no abortion. Then they get pregnant. Then they get an abortion. And it's like, bitch, please? I thought you just said. And they're like, but no, I'm exempt because I don't really believe in abortion, so I'm allowed to have one. It's like, fuck you talking about, lady? No, you're just being a hypocritical asshole. Go pout. And it's just like, right. Yeah, and then of course, like, also, this is where we also have to get into the topic of, you know, things like getting legally sterilized, you know, getting your tubes tied and stuff like that, which is drastically different for men and women. A man, usually if he wants to get a vasectomy, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Again, I haven't written anything down, so it's just going off the top of my head. They can generally get it pretty freaking easily. If a guy wants that, he can get it easily. It's just like getting Viagra pills. Men can get it without question. Easily. No problem. Women, on the other hand, good fucking luck unless you're over the age of 40 and already have 2 kids. There is so many stories of a girl going in, I want to get my tubes tied. I want to get blah, 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 blah. I want to get blah, 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 blah. I want to get blah, blah, blah. And they're told, no. You'll change your mind in the future. You'll want kids. You will want kids. And it's like, fuck you. I will stab you. Like, of course there's fucking dangers to getting it done. No fucking shit. But if someone has seriously gone to a doctor wanting this, obviously they have done their fucking research. And obviously the possibilities of it is, the negative shit that may come from it is fucking better than getting pregnant to them. If someone comes in asking to get their tubes tied or some shit, all doctors should be like, okay, do you know all the risks? These are all the risks. If they're completely okay with every risk you can possibly think of that exists out there, then go through the procedure with them. If they're okay with that, then give them their fucking operation. It shouldn't matter whether you personally think that, oh, they'll want kids in the future. Because no, they might not necessarily. And that's the same shit, like, if you have a kid, and I don't mean like a kid who's like under the age of 18, they can be under the age of 18, they can be over the age of 18, any age, who blatantly says, I don't want kids, don't snap at them. Oh, no, you'll change your mind in the future just because they were a girl. I think, the fuck is wrong with you? Not everybody wants kids, you fucked up fuck. And then, of course, there's people like, how could you not want kids? Kids are the best thing that will ever happen to you. You'll change your mind when you have a kid. It's like, I will stab you. Like, no. Just, no. Something is wrong with people like that. Because, no. If I were to actually have a kid, I would probably resent them to shit. And passionately hate them. And that's if I was actually a kid and whatnot. Because I would consider them to have ruined my entire life. And to be a fucking hellspawn parasite that I would want nothing to do with. Ever. Period. And no, we're not gonna just change our minds in the future. What the fuck? Like, if you said that about almost anything else, you would get called an asshole. So why is it acceptable to say that about wanting kids? Like, no. Just because a lot of people want kids doesn't mean everybody wants kids. Like, no. And technically it's better for there to be some people who do not want kids. Why? We're over fucking populated. We don't need more people born into the world, we need less. So you shouldn't be wanting everybody to have kids any fucking way. It should not bother you that so-and-so doesn't want kids. Who fucking cares? It's their choice, it's their body, it's their life. None of your goddamn business. Wiggity-woo. So yeah, that's really all I've got to say on that. Be pro-choice. And don't be a shitty fucking person.